everyone has asked me to ask you, everyone in this production, and all the people working on this podcast in the back have asked me to ask you, can we blame our parents for everything that has gone wrong with us?
Because I'm going to interpret this. I'm not going to answer this.
Guys, come in here for your own therapy session. A lot of times people will say, you go to therapy just so that you can blame your parents for things. And
that's usually maybe the parents who are saying that. And how does this happen? How does therapy make this happen?
You tell me. I cannot believe that after 7 years in therapy, this is the first time I'm thinking about this. Hi Nuzhat, thank you for joining us today. I struggle introducing all my guests because I don't like giving them a title. So, you are many things, but one of them is professionally you're a psychoanalyst and you have been for many, many years. This implies that you've very closely seen the lives of individuals through a form of therapy that really dives in deep into your childhood, into your inner world. And that's why I wanted to speak to you today. Because so there are many stereotypes of therapy. You imagine someone lying on a couch and the therapist says one thing on repeat. And how does that make you feel? And then there are stereotypes within psychoanalysis itself. So there are just many bubbles to burst. But in the interest of time and depth, I just want to sort of set context of what I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to talk about the aspect of victimhood that sometimes comes up with therapy, the aspect of blame that sometimes comes up in therapy, and what can you do? What are you meant to do to move forward, take these learnings ahead to be able to empower yourself and have agency over the kind of person you want to be in the present and in moving forward.
Can we expand and clarify on what we mean when we're saying victimhood?
So that's what I wanted to get into, because there are people who are anti-therapy and they say therapy is useless. You use it as a crutch to blame other people, and because this show is about asking questions and getting curious and trying to not blame anybody and sort of understand what is going on so that you can use the tools in the world. One of them is therapy. There are many tools in the world. One of them being therapy. How can we understand it so that we can use it in the way that we want to in our lives? So therapy, if you're coming for therapy, it means you're coming and asking for help. That's why it's called seeking professional help, right? So inherently, if you're coming for therapy, you're asking for help. And a lot of times then that becomes help, meaning struggle, meaning there is something that you are struggling with. And then it very quickly becomes as if something has happened to you.
Okay.
And that may not be a comprehensive view of why anyone and everyone comes to therapy. But I'm saying in a general sense, you come for help because you're struggling, because something has happened to you. You are being pained in some manner. And then that very quickly, I think, moves into a state of, I'm saying victimhood, but I do see what you mean by it, whether that's the right articulation. I guess I mean something's happening to you.
I have an idea what you mean, but I wanted to kind of clarify this because on the one hand, when you say victimhood, it might easily be understood as there are no victims. So if you are a victim, which means you are in victimhood, there are two different meanings there, aren't they? So things happen to people. And we might think about it in that sense. So if we're talking about really, really bad things that happen to people when they were children, when they were vulnerable, all of that, certainly they're victims. Hmm? And things happen to everyone, to all of us. We all go through a lot of difficult things. So in that sense, I'm trying to separate victim from victimhood. And let me see if I get what you mean by victimhood. I think what you mean is the state of being stuck with the bad stuff that has happened to you, only being able to interpret it or experience it in one way. Bad was done to me by bad people or something.
I think in addition to that is the fact that when you come into therapy, you are given some sense of comfort and support, whether it is explicitly said to you by the therapist, or it's implicitly you are made to feel safe and comforted, right? So in another episode, one of our guests, Radhika Bapat, she described validation in psychotherapy as the therapist is not doubting or second guessing your need for help. That is what validation in psychotherapy is how she put it. And I think that is...
I like that.
I like that way of putting it. So there will always be validation in psychotherapy. In the sense
Unfortunately, I see it used in all kinds of ways.
Yeah. So today, we are using it in only that way.
Yeah.
We're saying that you will not... Your pain or your the thing that you need help with, or the fact that you need help will not be doubted.
Correct.
In many instances, when the many bad things that happen to us happen, we need active comfort. You know, sometimes you're crying and whatever. So there is always, in the beginning of therapy, some amount of validation, some amount of, which can also sort of extend to like support and comfort. And that might, sometimes that makes it easier to slip into this place of being a victim. And I think what I'm trying to ask you is that therapy can be used differently. Sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. Sometimes I'm in a lot of pain, and I've been in a lot of pain for really long. And finally, when someone is giving me support, I want to stay in that supported place. So my question is, in the mix of needing help, therefore being vulnerable, getting validated, where it is needed and integral in the therapeutic process, where and how does one handle or avoid this victim feeling?
So I'm going to answer this standing from the perspective of psychoanalysis. So there's one thing for sure, that people, when they're in pain, they need to be comforted. Even years after the bad thing has happened, when they finally come into therapy, they they do still need, everybody needs to be supported. Everybody needs to be comforted. Everybody needs to be listened to carefully. Everybody needs to be understood. And when I say understood, it's not, I'm going to be very understanding. Yeah. How sad, how bad. I'm a very understanding person. No, I'm understanding what you are saying to me, what you are going through, that understanding. Okay. Now, this experience of being listened to carefully, thought about very carefully, the attempt to understand that the therapist does, this provides what we call containment. Maybe someone else calls it validation. I'm not sure if they're equivalent things. But we we can think about it as an experience of being held in a firm but safe way. And this in itself is a hugely therapeutic experience for people. So, someone coming in, you're not going to be straight away trying to get them to think about what part they play in the things that happen to them. Although, fact of the matter is that we all have a part to play in the life that we find ourselves in. Again, let me go back to that blame part. Not a useful word. That, at least for us, okay, in the sense that who now I see that this person has gone through this. Who do I blame for this? The mother, the father, the this, the that, society, economics. Sure. How about thinking of them as factors in what has happened? So blame, I'm putting aside. So now to step from containment, the feeling which is very much needed for a person to be held in this kind of way, to be listened to, and to know that the person who's listening to me is actually understanding. Now that's the psychoanalytic part, not just what the person is saying to you on the surface, but what's going on underneath, in the lower layers, deeper layers of the unconscious. Now, coming to the blame and victimhood part of this, I said we should not think about it in terms of blame. But patients can do what they want. They're patients. So you're not going to say, oh, wait a minute, you can't think like this. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were, all of us, forget whether you're a patient or not, to not have to feel guilty or responsible for anything? Wouldn't that be great? Who wouldn't want that? And we see that process happening from a very small child, little children. They don't want to accept that they did something wrong or whatever. This is a capacity that we acquire as we grow older.
I guess I think that's a really helpful example that I've come across when you think about what means to be childish. It's like if you get accused for something, I didn't do it, somebody else did. And as you get older, you stop feeling the need to point fingers at someone
because
else.
You've acquired the capacity to take a look at yourself. But when a patient comes in the beginning, and of course people are different, they'd rather not, they're not in that state. They're in a state of, I'm hurting and the world has hurt me, or someone, all of that. All of that may have happened, but it's not the whole story in the sense of we interpret what happens to us also. Now, here I'm not trying to give anyone a free pass. No, nobody has done anything wrong. People do wrong things and other people get hurt. So we're not getting into that. What I mean by not the whole story is that a lot of what happens to us, we feel a certain way about it, we think a certain way about it. And then perhaps when we grow a little in our internal capacity, we find that, oh, now I'm thinking about it in a different way. Now I'm not feeling quite so so angry or that, this is exactly what happened. So wait a minute, maybe it happened in another way. This is really the key part of not kind of putting things down in black and white. This happened and therefore this happened. Now, I want to keep coming back and kind of underlining the fact that I'm not talking about gross abuse, about huge crimes. I'm talking about a normal, everyday child rearing, childhood experience, growing up, and all of that.
So I'd like to give examples just to see whether we're getting the context correctly.
Okay.
And I think what I thought of when you were saying that sometimes we respond in a certain way, then when we grow up and we look back, we realize maybe it's not like that. Two examples come to my mind. One is that it's easier to feel bad when someone picks on you when you're a kid.
Yeah, sure.
And you are able to be like, I'm not giving you bow more easily when you're older.
When you're older, yeah.
Because you kind of learn to be like, not everyone who's saying something mean to me matters, I guess. Or you don't experience that same interaction as painfully as you did when you were younger.
Because you don't feel as humiliated, you don't feel as vulnerable. Because
you've grown up, you have other capacities.
Yeah.
And the other one that I love actually is from the movie The Adam Project, with Ryan Reynolds. And basically,
Which I've seen, yeah, but
he comes back from, his future self comes back and meets his kid self.
That's right.
And the future self is really angry at the dad. And he's saying, he never cared about anything. He only cared about his work. He never had time for us. And the kid says, I don't think you remember this properly. Because he would come and play catch with us every day after work, no matter how tired he was. And he bought that toy thing where you can play catch with yourself because you begged him to, not because he didn't want to play catch with you. And so how we perceive something that we went through and how we choose to remember it is sometimes so different. Every time my mother has come with me to a psychologist or to my teacher or anybody, she's like, I never threw tantrums. And I was like, I threw tantrums all the time. What are you talking about? She was like, yeah, you would just be like okay with things. And I was like, I cried so much. I'm pretty sure I threw tantrums. I don't know which childhood you are remembering because that's not how I remember my childhood. So I realized that it does happen.
Yeah. So the idea of wanting to continue to blame and be angry, that seems to, with a good amount of time and in therapy, it seems to kind of ease up. The other thing is also that we are more able to forgive people, even though someone may have done something that hurt us. This is again, with a great deal of work. So the idea of being able to forgive our parents for not being ideal, perfect parents, which of course no one is. So when at the start of a therapy, typically there's that, no, my parents did this to me, my siblings did this, and so and so, whatever, my husband does this, whoever it is, my partner. So that typically is what is called more of a paranoid schizoid position in psychoanalysis. I'm sorry to be tossing words around, but what it means is that the person is in a state of saying all the bad is coming from outside. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly good. Everybody else is being bad and mean to me. It's not a stage. It's a state of being. For instance, and we all get into these kind of states every now and then. Sometimes people will say, everything is going wrong today, and my breakfast was burned, and then I drove and the police guy stopped me and he was so mean to me, and my boss is like this, and the feeling that possibly everyone has had every now and then is that today everyone's being terrible to me. That's a paranoid schizoid state of being. And then we ease up and we come out of that, usually. But in terms of a therapy, this is often the early part of an analytic therapy, where the person is saying, I have come to you because I'm in pain and I want you to fix the world. But what I want to make very clear is that we're not required to drag them out of this and say, this is wrong. Not at all. This is how they're feeling right now. Like your therapist said, validation. This is how the person is feeling right now. This has happened. This has happened. And it takes a lot of work in therapy for that to ease up and for the person to start feeling less about what everyone's doing and more interested in themselves. That is really uh, the period where the person starts becoming reflective. Yeah, reflective. Again, this is not a matter of, oh, they are not to blame, I'm to blame. That's really not
Helpful.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, obviously people move back and forth, but in some sense, there's stages in the therapeutic process.
Yeah.
And it's natural and normal in the beginning, because the person is vulnerable and in pain, to for most of what is coming out to sound like they did this to me, or to feel like they did this to me.
Sure.
And so you could say it's kind of like a natural progression that would happen. Just curious, because I feel like some people go into therapy specifically thinking, I am useless.
Yeah, that's another lot of people. Again, it's a binary, isn't it? Either they are useless and I'm great, or I'm useless and they are great. It's the same thing, where all the good is being put in one place and all the bad is being put in one place. This is a split. And I would ask, why? Why are you so awful? What awful thing have you done? And that's the process of starting to look at what they think they've done, even though they don't know. Again, this is the unconscious part of the work. Yeah, I don't know why, but I just feel like a terrible person. For everyone, at the starting and for a long time in the therapy, what the person needs to begin with is to be understood rather than to be given understanding. Now, see the difference?
Yeah.
Whereas, okay, you know what? You're suffering because you did this and you didn't do that and that. That's me trying to get you to understand something.
So you don't necessarily want them to reflect in the beginning, because right now that you're meant to first
give them the experience of being understood.
And hear them out and find out what there is to reflect on at all. As in,
it'll come up on its own.
Yeah.
So that is the containment part. That is the being given that
room.
I don't know. I like coming back to the mother-baby examples, if I may. That's what a baby needs from its parent. That it doesn't know what it needs to be comfortable. It doesn't know, and in any case, it couldn't do it because this is at the state of its maximum helplessness and vulnerability. They need someone to understand them, what they need, and to be able to do it for them. So if the mother were to say, you know what, you're crying because you're hungry, it's not going to do any good for the baby. So the mother has to be attuned to the child, understand, okay, is it hunger? Is it cold? Is it this? Is it that? All right, how about this? So the baby then has the experience of being listened to, of being understood. and not being told, okay, you have to do this or that. So that's that early stage, which is a big part of an analytic therapy.
When you think of it as a grown up and not a child,
Yes.
In the case of a child, the mother needs to feed you if you are hungry. I feel like with adults, it's a little less direct, in the sense that that initial phase gives you the room to be in pain and to express your pain and your vulnerability. And like you said, just being heard can be so therapeutic that it may help you come to a place where you are less vulnerable.
But
And
when you say just being heard, it's
no, being heard is huge.
Yeah.
It's massive. It is
Yeah.
not a just being heard.
yeah.
So fine, I will remove the just.
Yeah, I'm very against the word just.
When you feel like you've been heard as an adult, that might be the help that you needed. When you were a kid, you needed the food. When you're an adult, maybe apart from many other things, depending on case to case,
Yeah.
sometimes what you need is to, once you've been heard and given that room and that space, it gets you closer to being able to do for yourself. Because then it takes you that step closer to now maybe being in a place where you can reflect, where you can be willing to see the larger picture. So why I'm saying this is because when you say child is hungry, therefore crying, mother notices that child is hungry, realizes it's hunger, and then feeds child. I guess I worry that because people also have this idea that the therapist will fix their problem for them. And it's not so much that it is not at all that the therapist will fix your problem for
Okay.
you.
No, I want to come in with that. So it's not a matter of I have a mother who knows when I'm hungry and feeds me. That's not all that happens to the child. What happens is that the child has the experience of another mind thinking in a organized way, a mind that has the capacity to think, rather than freak out like the child is doing. When the child is hungry, it just kicks and screams. It can't think about it in a coherent way. But the parent's mind can and does. So it's not just that the baby gets the milk. The baby also gradually takes in that capacity to think in that way, the way it has been done for him. That's how the mind develops. So for instance, if a baby is crying, kicking and screaming because it's hungry, and say the mother has been exhausted doing something all day or whatever it is, and she's overwhelmed, happens. So if the mother were to just kind of throw up her hands and kick and scream and cry herself, meaning she almost becomes like the baby herself, right? I can't. That's the experience of the baby, that what I'm going through is so bad that even my mother can't handle it. Now, again, just to make sure that this is not just one time the mother does that and that's it, your baby. Please.
One time she didn't feed me,
and that's it.
Now I will hate her and blame her for the rest of my life.
Yeah. If a child is getting a reasonable enough, good enough, reliable enough kind of care, and then there's a bit of this that happens in anybody's lives, children are quite resilient. They get over it and they forgive their mother for that. I'm talking about a person's experience who was not given a good enough, consistent enough kind of care and thinking about. That's the example I was giving, where and this you will see it in the therapy room, where if the analyst were to get worried and overwhelmed by what the patient is bringing, then it would be a similar thing where the patient would say, "Oh my God, I'm
coming to this person for help, but they're also floundering at this
and they
situation, not being able to."
yeah, or I'm so bad that I've wrecked my analyst."
I know you're talking about this from an analysis point of view, but even
or in any therapy.
yeah, because even in the counseling that I've done, once I remember the patient called in for an emergency session, and the fact that they called for an emergency session, I panicked a little bit, and then I realized that I was overcompensating and trying to be like, and this also, and this also, and this also. Maybe I've not said enough. Maybe I've not given you enough, And I was like, oh my God, relax. They are not stressing. You are stressing. But I think that's very what you said earlier about the fact that someone is listening to you and is being able to think about what you are going through in an organized manner, make some sort of sense of what is going on, and then able to respond with that.
Yes.
After that, listening, organizing, and then responding.
Yeah.
So the other stereotype is that it all comes back to your childhood. And in your examples also, you bring it back to your childhood. Now, even though and like you said, the assumption is always like one thing happened and then that's it. And even though I've read a lot about psychology, I've been in analysis for 7 years, there are still times when I will say something and then my analyst will relate it back to my childhood and I will exclaim, saying everything cannot be about my childhood and about my parents. Then, on the other hand, it makes perfect sense because all developmental studies, even in casual conversation, you talk about your formative years. We always talk about how children learn quickest. When you're a child, it's the easiest time to learn languages, any skill. So obviously, your past will shape your present. Like it could not be any other way. And there's a quote by Jonathan Shedler, which I really like. Two of them that I'm putting together. We view the present through the lens of the past. And the second one is, and the goal of psychoanalytical psychotherapy is to loosen the bonds of the past to create new life possibilities.
Yeah.
Everyone has asked me to ask you, can we blame our parents for everything that has gone wrong with us? Now, because of 7 years in therapy and life, and you also mentioned it before, we should put the word blame aside. Because forget good, not good, it is just unhelpful.
Because think about it. If you say, can we blame our parents for everything? What are we actually saying? Because I'm going to interpret this. I'm not going to answer this.
Guys, come in here for your own therapy session.
What you're saying is that then you don't have to do anything about it. Because
if you blame your parents for everything that has gone wrong with you, then you don't have to do anything about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In a sense, that's what you're saying. I can't help it. It's that thing that used to be there and possibly still is there. I can't help it. It's genetic. But we can do a lot of things.
Can do something.
Yeah. So what we need to, I think I'll go back to this. Does everything go back to your parents? Yes, but not only your parents. No. We all come into the world. We have a physical disposition. We have a mental, emotional kind of thing that we come into as babies, and then we we are born in a family, there are people in the family, then we're born within a society, there's culture, there's economics, there's all kinds of things, nature, nurture. So, and that those are our formative years, obviously. And way back, even before before birth, there's so much going on that impacts us, the mother's state of mind, all of that. So even if we're talking about, uh, um, say an anxious mother or a stressed mother or something like that, the biochemistry changes, and I think, of course, everything comes from there. That's your foundation, and some of us are uh, fortunate enough to have a good enough foundation, and then we build on that. And but things will continue to happen to us for the rest of our lives. It's not only what happened to you when you were a child, but those were the important years. And those were the years where, as your quote says, that's when we create a lens with which to see the world, with which to interpret what happens to us. So something may happen, and one person may say, I think this is what's happening. This person means us harm. And the other person, no, I don't think so. I think this person is coming towards us to ask us a question.
It is natural that you will respond to something based on the last time you experienced
something that feels similar to that.
Similar.
So we create a template with which to experience the world. And to proceed with that quote is that the work that we do in our lives, inside therapy or outside, is hopefully to start to recognize, oh, this is our template, but what's happening to me now is not the same as what happened then. So you can start to make the difference.
You can choose then how you want to respond.
Yeah. So then you have the possibility of choice. When you're within that kind of template framework, it's not even your choice is more limited, shall we say.
You can't see all your options.
You can't. And then as you start working on yourself in different ways, your lens widens and says, oh, I can do this also. I can do this also.
I imagined that it would be so. And I am pleased that you are saying it in this way, because it very easily relates back to what Radhika was talking about, and her modality of therapy is very different from yours. But still, the idea is how to be not stuck. And if we are thinking about what is therapy doing for any individual, through the different modalities that it works, the idea is, I mean, now this is just me saying, okay? The idea is you get supported, you develop insight, meaning you learn about yourself, and then you feel less stuck in whatever it is that you are feeling stuck in.
So, and the stuck feeling, one might think about it as, okay, I can only think about things in this way.
Yeah, it's not necessarily I feel stuck.
Yeah.
It's in any basic, like you said, either I feel stuck or I can only see this much in this way
only.
So intellectually, I might understand that my dad wasn't present and it had an effect on me, just as my dad being present would have an effect on me, right? Both ways, it would have some effect on me. In this case, we'll assume it has a negative effect on me. I didn't feel loved. I felt like I had to try a lot to get his attention. I had to do something extraordinary. And now because of that, I feel like I'm a worthless person. And in other aspects of my life also, I feel like I must be extraordinary. Okay, intellectually, great. I've figured this out. And I might be able to say, okay, you know what? I get it. I'm going to stop putting my father or my parent high up on this pedestal where they have to know everything perfectly. Okay, so now I'm acknowledging it without blaming him for it.
Okay.
I'm saying it happened. It had an effect on me. He was the cause of that effect. So I'm not trying to pretend like it didn't happen, but I'm not blaming him for it. Okay. but I'm still going to feel, I could still feel angry
Of
about
course.
this, right? So, how am I supposed to feel angry, allow anger, but not turn it into blame? Um, yeah, because that's what happened. I mean, I feel like that's what happens. Things turn into blame from whatever other negative feeling. They turn into blame, or the stereotype is that they turn into blame. Like in movies, and even when we talk about it, a lot of times people will say, "You go to therapy so just so that you can blame your parents for things." And
That's usually maybe the parents who are saying that.
yes, at least in the
Because
TV show,
they're afraid of what you'll be saying.
yeah, in the TV shows, it's the parents who are like, "I knew if you went for therapy, you would just come around and blame me." Anyway, but the idea that how do we not shift? I mean, how do we avoid going down the blame part? How do we navigate this perception of something happens to me? There is a person or things involved in that experience that was there when I experienced it. I think a little bit you've already answered, in the sense that at the beginning you won't be able to tell the difference between these things, right? You explain that once you feel heard, then you are a little more able to think. So it's also like the baby, right? In the beginning you're just completely frazzled, and once you have enough experience of, okay, someone can make sense of this, someone is listening and trying, and maybe that, I mean, part of it could be that.
Yes. So your question actually was, the answer to that is a long procedure of therapy. How do you not blame the parent and still feel angry and still this? And here's the thing, that we seem to believe that we should feel only one way, either this way or that, either love or hate, or if I feel hate, then I'm bad, or the parent is bad. So it's very black and white. Again, this is an early part of our growing up years, when children are black and white, and then we learn, and so are some adults. The extent to which you're able to gradually allow shades in and say, okay, I'm feeling a little less angry with my dad, but I'm still angry. Okay. I suddenly I understood something about him that made me feel, oh, now I understand why he did that, even though it hurt me. So you start kind of filling out the picture, where earlier on it was a very mm, uh, dimensional kind of a image. So that process allows you to feel less blamey. Yeah, but it's very uncomfortable. It's so much nicer to blame.
Yeah, but so what you're doing in that long process of therapy is that as you are able to see things from multiple dimensions and perspectives, it is less, you on your own are less likely to go down only one blame path. It'll happen automatically as you start to see.
And it has happened slowly.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Yeah.
But as you are able to see more and more of what maybe what they're going through, what else was happening when that
because remember,
situation happened,
your parents can turn around and blame their parents, and it can go on and on. Then what's going to happen?
we all just sit there. It's your fault, and they're like, it's their fault, and then yeah. So I love asking my analysts difficult questions. So once I was feeling angry at my uncle or something, and I was like, so how do I be? And she was like, be how you feel. I was like, what do you mean? So he sent me a message. And that message seemed to imply that he didn't think that I was angry at him. Like it was a casual message. And I was like, and she was like, just respond how you feel like. If you find what he said funny, then laugh. If you don't find what he said funny, then don't laugh. You don't have to hold on to the anger if right now you are no longer feeling it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But that only works for less intense feelings. Otherwise, I feel like it's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is a need to confront, and sometimes there isn't. In this whole, I realized this thing about my parents or my brother or whatever. Parents, let's stick to parents. One, though, I don't know when to confront and when not to confront. But let's say we decided to confront. How do I talk to my parents about this without making them feel attacked? Do you have any tips? Because
Oh dear.
I may
tips.
be in therapy,
Uh,
but my parents may not be.
Mm.
Any frameworks or
shall
things to keep in mind
Okay.
when I'm trying to confront my parents?
Again, I'm looking at this word you're using again and again. Confront.
Okay.
Um,
Don't see it as a confrontation?
well, that has a bit of an attacky feel to it, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So, first of all, you need to see why you are doing it. Why do you need to do that now, and do what? What is it? Do you want your parents to hear something that what you about what you're feeling? I really want you all to know I'm so angry with you. In which universe is that going to be not painful to hear? Of course, it's painful. Hmm? So I don't know about being attacked. One thing to do is to first see how honest you're being about what you want to do in this exchange.
Do you just want them to know that you are hurt because you want them to feel hurt as well? Do you want them to say sorry? Do you feel like they don't realize that they've hurt you and so you just want to let them know that you hurt them, so can we not do this in the future
Yeah, so
if it was
in
unintentional?
that case, you need to be a fairly thoughtful individual yourself to begin with. Because most exchanges go into, I just went and said that and they blew up, and now what did I do? So this is not a very healthy dynamic in any case. But when you're asking specifically, I need to tell my parents something, but I don't want to hurt them. I do as far as is possible. I don't want them to feel attacked. Then you have to say that. See, everything is not in your hand, right? There's somebody else on the other side. How ready and capable is the other person to hear what you're saying without quickly trying to either shut it down, push it away? But if one of you has been in analysis and the other not, then it's a little unfair, no?
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you about is that cool, I learned this. Now what? And through my therapy, I learned the now what is, now that I know this, what can I do about this thought or feeling or behavior moving in my present and moving into my future? Easier said than done, of course. But what I'm hoping for is for you to shed some more light on where does I do this because of how my parents treated me, my past, because of what happened to me. To this is my responsibility, my life. How do you make that transition, taking accountability for your mental, your emotional state of being? And I think it's important to sort of define what that taking accountability or regaining, because people say big words like empowerment and regaining agency and all of those things, but it's important to understand what that means, right? It's about, am I mindfully responding, like am I choosing how I respond to a situation in a slightly self-aware manner? You take responsibility for your mood, for some amount of responsibility for your mood, your relationships, your habits. I don't know, can we also define that a little?
Okay. So here's the thing. Not all damage can be repaired. A great deal can, but some can't. So, for one, we need to kind of not think of therapy as a
Time machine.
or a magic wand or something that, it'll all kind of wipe out and all. Some pain remains, some damage remains for everybody. For some, it may be a little bit more. Some can kind of get ahead with their lives and do a, really good job.
And also, you're still living life, so pain can keep happening.
Of course, it's not just your parents. Like, that's what I said at the, a little earlier, that, things are going to keep happening. But what you learn, if you have a good enough therapy, what you acquire is resilience. In that, it's not that you're not going to be knocked down, but the recovery time becomes better. Again, depends on how bad is the thing that happens to you. So if we're just talking about everyday, regular, normal, good enough life, not like huge crises or anything, a good enough therapy should give you a certain amount of capacity to kind of snap back into a certain awareness. Okay, this is going on now. I'm really angry, I'm really upset. Is it that you're suddenly going to never be angry again? I don't think so. But there is hopefully more of an ability to have that little bit of place to become thoughtful about it. Like, a lot of people say, so and so said something to me. Naturally, I got angry. Naturally, I said this, and naturally, I hit him. So it seems to be natural. And who can argue with that? But can you pull back for a second and say, yeah, I am angry, but am I going to hit him? No. Am I going to hit him with my words? I choose. Yes, no, whatever. So remember I said, your choice kind of widens.
Yeah.
Because you're not just kind of acting out of impulse.
And also, what you said about having multiple feelings about the same person or the same thing.
Situation. Yeah.
Like, I can get angry at you and it's not the end of the world. We will continue to be friends tomorrow.
Right.
And to be able to allow that anger for those couple of hours, for that minute, without, my options are not only either I punch you or I
cut off from you,
they don't have to
or I lie down and let you do what you want. We tend to think in kind of extremes. Either I allow you to do whatever you want to me, or I. So here's the thing about relationships and parents and all of that. Hopefully, as you feel better in your therapy, this should reflect and does reflect in your relationships outside. Your important relationships with your parents, with your spouses, partners, friends, your work relations, because people tend to kind of run into the same sort of problems and situations in all aspects of their life. And they can't see the common thread over there. So it's not just that, okay, I have understood all this, now I have to go and explain all this to my parents. No, it's how.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Then you start to go and talk. My therapist said this, so now you must be like this.
What ideally one should be able to do while working on one's own therapy is to learn how to engage others in a healthier way. So if someone for instance, is rude to you or mean to you, it's surely you have a better way of dealing with it. Surely it is possible for you not to be crushed by it and say, now so and so said this to me and now I'm going to hate him or her forever, and which would be an earlier version of you perhaps, or whatever it is, or I'm so worthless, so and so said my work is bad and I'm going to be crushed. So working on yourself kind of creates a much more sturdier um, knowledge of yourself, that you're a good enough person. Good enough. You're not fabulous. You're not rubbish.
So I guess it's about widening your options of how you may respond to a situation. So being able to see that I have more options and being able to take a pause to choose now which of those new options would I like to respond with.
Yeah. And how does this happen? How does therapy make this happen?
I don't know, you tell me.
A little while ago, you said something about, I had to work really hard to feel that I'm worthwhile or valuable or something like that. But the experience with a good therapist gives you the experience of being valuable, of being worthwhile. That you have someone who's there. When they say they're going to be there at 9, they're there at 9. They're listening to you. It must mean that you're valuable.
Showing up is a way
Showing
of
up,
showing that
being
you value
there,
something.
being reliable, being thoughtful, being so all of the things that are being done for you as someone who's coming in for your therapy. Gradually, of course, along with other things, it's not just showing up, where the person gradually gets a very different experience of the world, where they can come in and yell at their therapist. Therapists are not going to yell back at them. Or they can come and say all kinds of things that they wouldn't allow themselves to even think outside. And the therapist will think about it and make something useful of it. And rather than, no, that's not allowed. You can't think about that. So
they're kind of giving you the experience of not judging you. And this is more important for you to learn that you don't need to judge yourself, not as much as it is to not get judgment from other people. I think one of the things it really would do is allow you to stop judging yourself.
I think that
first.
comes first. People keep saying, what will people say? No, it's not that at all. They've just kind of externalized it.
But it's you judging yourself. So, so them, because no other human being is going to be like this for you, right? No other relationship is going to be like this, where you can yell at someone and they won't yell back at you. But I guess they are sort of creating a persona that you are meant to be towards yourself. To give yourself room to not judge you, to be able to listen to your anger without needing to shut it down or throw something back at it. So it's kind of like once you leave therapy, you are able to be a little bit of those things to yourself, for yourself.
Remember the mother doing the thinking and then the baby acquires that ability? That's what we're acquiring in the process of therapy. So I find this interesting what you said, that they're creating a persona for you to be in. Never thought about it that way.
Because they're teaching you to be non-judgmental to yourself. They're teaching you, they are tolerating all your feelings.
Yeah.
You are...
So you can too.
Yeah. They're okay with you being lustful and jealous and happy and
All kinds of
worried,
things.
and all sorts of
Yeah.
things. And so you're like, oh, even if I can't tell the whole world about this, I can admit it and live it.
And then I choose
and then
what
I
I'm going
choose
to do.
what I want to do. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Good.
We end every episode with a little bit of a thing. At Agatsu, our main proposition to the world is emotional hygiene. And one of those things, one of the aspects of emotional hygiene is the little things. Actually, it's about not seeing things in black and white, and it's about seeing multiple things. So so the idea is, if I get stuck in traffic and I take 5 points of negativity from that, can I also take 5 points of positivity when I don't get stuck in traffic? Like, can I notice also that I didn't get stuck in traffic when I didn't get stuck in traffic? Must I only notice the negative things? So the idea is that I'm going to give you a clipboard and we write down one good thing, decent thing that happened from this morning to now. One not negative thing.
Only one?
Write as many as you want, at least one.
There you go.
I got to office at 9 a.m. I am officially a 9 to 5 person.
Oh, very good.
And I'm so excited about it. I know people don't like 9 to 5 jobs and they're like, oh my God, 9 to 5 job. I'm thrilled. I was like, how exciting.
The sea and the Gulmohars looked beautiful from my window.
I'm sure they did. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching The Curious Case Off with me. In the description below, there will be links, further reading, summaries, guidelines, resources, everything that we could find and put together that we think you might find helpful. Just to reiterate that everything that is said in the episode as well as in the resources below should not be used to self-diagnose. If you have any questions or queries, please reach out to a mental health professional who is qualified. And if you like the episode, then like, share, and subscribe to Agatsu Foundation, our YouTube channel. And if you want to know anything more about the organization, then you can find out at www.agatsufoundation.org.